Call the Williams County Planning and Zoning Commission order for Thursday, September 19th. Roll call, please.
Mark,
Here.
James,
Here.
Tate,
Here.
Eric,
Here.
Dan,
Here.
George,
Here.
Barry,
Here.
Sherelle.
Here. We do have a quorum. We'll proceed. I would like to add one item to the agenda, if you would allow, under new business, the application from Brett Brothers for the open seat here on the P and Z. Other than that, that would be the only addition. I'd ask to put it under D to D3. Are you guys good with that? Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. That being said, we have the agenda in front of us. We'll follow. We have the roll call, disposition of the minutes from the August 15th meeting. What are the wishes?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second? I'll second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. New business, we've got a couple of hearings. The first one will be Chris Sinstreicher, I'm not sure to say that correctly, for a variance for a setback requirement in the rural residential zoning district. And this is currently located in Pleasant Valley Township. Michelle?
Okay, so this first one, LU-0056-24, Christopher Seidenstricker is requesting a variance for the side setback requirements within the rural residential zoning district. His property is located in the northeast of Section 7, Township 156 North, Range 95 West, which is Pleasant Valley Township. They did recommend approval on this project. The applicant is requesting a variance from that setback requirement within the rural residential zoning district for the side setback. Within the rural residential zoning district, the side building setback is 20 feet. The applicant is requesting a reduction to 7 feet from the required 20. This request is in conjunction with a building permit to construct a 10 by 16 shed to be built along the south lot line. This request does not qualify for the county administrative variance process, as the setback reduction is greater than the allowable 25% that is allowable in that process. Access to this property is taken off of State Highway 40.
Any questions?
Does the county actually permit sheds in the county?
If they're over 10 by 12, yes.
Wow. You see, I got 100 of them that we could go check into. No, I mean,
North Dakota State Building Code requires anything under over 120 square feet to be permitted.
Mark's built about 15 this year, so you may want to check on that.
We're complaint based.
no, I'm just looking at this company, the companies that bring all these sheds in and
Okay, any other questions, Michelle? Okay, if not, I'm going to open up the hearing. This is a public hearing. Any public input? Any public input? Last time, any public input? Close the hearing. What are the wishes of the board?
motion to approve with staff comment.
Is there a second to that motion? We have a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Dan,
Yes.
Sherelle,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Barry,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
George, Mark,
Yes.
Tate.
Yes, motion carries. Next one, we have Greg Zavalny with Horizon Resources for a CUP. This is a property that is out in 12 Mile Township. I'm assuming the zone's already agriculture. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay, so this one is LU-0057-24. Greg Zavalny with Horizon Resources are requesting a conditional use permit to place a 30,000-gallon propane tank on a leased portion of the subject property. Property is owned by John Hagan, Neil and Paula Hagan, Phyllis Silty, and Bonda Severson. This is located MS 14-0093 in the north half of the northeast of Section 21, Township 154, Range 99, which, as stated, is 12 Mile Township. They have recommended approval on this one. The applicant is requesting the conditional use permit to place a 30,000-gallon propane tank on the lease site, consisting of approximately 1.15 acres on that subject property, for the storage and sale of propane. There will be approximately 2 to 3 trucks weekly that will be offloading to fill the tank, while an additional 2 to 3 trucks daily will be extracting propane to deliver within the area. With this property being within the agricultural zoning district, this type of use requires the conditional use permit. There is an existing access point to this property off of 126 Avenue Northwest, which is also known as County Road 11. The applicant is intending to upgrade the existing approach.
Okay, any questions from Michelle? Okay, we're good. If not, I'm gonna open up the hearing on this one. This is a public hearing. Is there any public input? And Greg, if you want to add something from there, you go ahead. If not, you're good. Okay, you want to add anything or? You don't have to. If we have questions, we'll just ask you. Okay, this is a public hearing. Any public input? Last time, any public input? Close the hearing. What are the wishes of the board?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a couple seconds. Is there any further discussion?
I just wondered, does this just sit out in the middle of a field, Greg, or is it fenced in, or what do you do on these here?
No, it's right in the corner there, right on the corner of Highway 1804 and County Road 11. It's just a grassy hilltop right there. It's fairly level right there. And, we'll probably put, chain link fence around the end of it, yeah, for the load inputs and outputs, yeah.
So,
Okay, any other questions? Okay, roll call, please.
Sherelle,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Barry,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
George,
Yes.
Mark,
yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Tate.
Yes, motion carries. Item number 3 is a application for the Planning and Zoning Board from Brett Brothers. And Cam, go ahead.
All right, thank you. Cameron Heimer, Development Services. This is an application. It's the only one that we have received for the District 3 vacancy. We are looking for a recommendation from this board for this application. Pending review from legal, then it'll go to the October 1st County Commission meeting for a possible appointment.
Anybody have any questions?
Does anybody know?
I mean, I know who he is just from being out of Grayson Mills. Good guy. I mean, I've never had any problems with him personally, but. So I guess that can we get a motion to approve?
Yes.
Subject
To
to,
recommend.
okay, and we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a second. That's obviously with your approval of legal,
Subject to legal to make sure they're eligible.
Yep.
She just hadn't had a chance to do it yet.
which is fine. And just ask on the application, because I do notice
Yeah.
he says, yes, he lives in town, which he does, but he also has it that he resides within the Williston ETJ.
Yeah, Karen will usually reach out and review where they
Okay.
talk to them. So we'll make sure we clarify that before the county commission reviews it.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Eric,
Yes.
Barry,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
George, Mark,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Sherelle,
Yes.
Tate.
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you, Cameron. Okay, under old business, we have Steve Mortensen. That was on the stuff, the variance to remain agricultural out west of town. So do you want to add anything on there? Kind of give us a brief update?
Yep, I can give the update on this one. So this one is the LU-0043-24, which was Steve Mortensen. Originally was requesting the zone change to heavy industrial back in July. That was heard at the July meeting. It was tabled at that meeting to get clarification from, have the GoGo Technology individuals meet with the townships, which they did. They were not able to meet the deadline to have their CUP heard tonight as well, so they will be on next month's meeting. However, since that time, we have updated our ordinance to allow for data centers to be located within the agricultural zoning district. So what we did is we talked with Steve Mortensen and kind of discussed the options, and it was a big concern with this one for having the the spot zoning of heavy industrial and what's going to happen after. So after talking with Steve and with the update in the ordinance, we decided to switch this over to a variance for this 10-acre parcel to remain in the agricultural zoning district rather than changing to heavy industrial. The Mylar for this one is going through the review process still. I believe it should be done this next week, and hopefully it can go to Mylar, but it will be contingent on the approval of the variance. Yep, so if this does go through tonight with the variance, then it will still be a platted 10-acre lot. It will just be agricultural, and there will be a lot more restrictions on what they could or could not do on that. It is the intent to, for Steve Mortensen to sell this property to the individuals to put on the data center that will be heard at next month's meeting for a conditional use permit.
Any questions?
Michelle, could you explain to me the difference between going to a variance instead of us leaving it and going to a CUP? What's,
Yep,
Why-
so the variance is just for the zoning on the land. Since it is only 10 acres, they can't remain an agriculturally zoned property normally without doing a variance. When we changed the ordinance, it allows for the data centers to be in agriculture as well. So with this, a data center can be a conditionally used property or process on agriculturally zoned properties, so. Yes,
we'll do the
Yep.
variance on the land and then they'll come in for the CUP for the usage on it.
correct.
Okay.
Yep, and then that's when you'll make the big determination on if the CUP is a good or bad thing or deny approval, whatever at that meeting.
Okay, just for instance, so the CUP doesn't pass, the variance would still stay on the land?
It could still, yes, because it'll still be platted or can still be platted. It would just still be agricultural, so they'd have to, if they wanted to do a different type of CUP on there, they could come in front of the board for a different CUP. If for some reason, if it didn't go through and was approved for a CUP for a data center, they would not be allowed to do another one on that parcel. So they could do a CUP for something else, or he could, if Steve wanted to sell the property and have it like a home on there, they could do that as well.
So with that said, so should the plat and the CUP be subject to the variance, or the variance being approved subject to the CUP? I mean, tie it all together? Does that make sense?
That's, I'm just asking why we're doing one or the other, because they seem like they both gotta go together to, one doesn't
Right.
do any good without the other. but-
Either get it all or get none.
Yeah. I don't know. No, yeah.
Yeah, so it is a little confusing because the ordinance changed in the middle of it. So typically with a minor subdivision, let's say this new lot they're proposing was 40 acres, this board actually wouldn't hear it. It's all done administratively. So the only reason that it has to come in front of this board and the county commission is because it doesn't meet the 40-acre minimum requirement to remain ag. But it's completely up to this board if they want to table this and have it run concurrently with the CUP. However, if this minor subdivision does get approved prior to CUP, it doesn't give them any more ability to operate the data center until they actually obtain a CUP. But that's why they're seeking the variances to remain ag instead of heavy industrial like the last time they were in front of the board.
But if we approve this, we're still creating another sublot.
Certainly, yes.
We're making. it
With this
convoluted
acreage.
From a recording standpoint, I guess, from a title work standpoint.
Yes. So, yes, that is one possibility. If this were to be approved, it would create the lot, and let's say the CUP were denied, then you would have this lot still existing and recorded eventually. So, that's correct.
So it's a matter of how you want to handle it. You could table it and run it all concurrently, or run with this and subject to the plat and the CUP being approved.
And if I may add, Michelle touched on it a bit, we prefer to do these concurrently, but there were some issues getting the required application items in time, and so they kept missing deadlines, and we're not able to accept the application per the ordinance until they meet those requirements, and so usually we would bring them together.
I think administratively it'd be a lot easier to run them concurrently.
And I will also add, we did, when it was switched to the variance, we did send out new resident notices with the change, as well as new township packets. And the township did meet again, and they actually recommended approval on the variance for this to remain an egg, because they thought it made more sense than what it did before when it was heavy industrial.
I don't see any reason why we can't act on this now. It's not gonna make any difference. I mean,
My only
except for
concern is
having a
with
long discussion next time where we have to decide whether we want to approve this first and then decide whether we want to approve the CUP.
Yeah, my only rationale would be is we're just creating another sublot. And I mean, I look at what we've done to Wilson Square, all these extra sublots, it's just a disaster. I mean, this is only one 10-acre parcel, so it's not that big of a deal, but point is, it's just sublot after sublot after sublot.
Well, there's not a whole lot of 10-acre parcels out there.
I agree.
What I was looking at is we're creating a residential lot. Do we have the services for it? Because the township already said they wouldn't do anything with the roads. You know,
We're not creating a residential, it's ag. If they came in, if somebody came in wanting to turn it into residential, then we'd have a rezoning request, and then we'd have to decide whether we wanted to. No.
This is
it's
still gonna stay ag.
Right,
regardless.
this would stay egg. So if it were to say the data center or something were not to go there and he were to sell it and someone wanted to build a home, then they would be responsible for the access in and out because it is not a township maintained road.
And during the building permit review process, we would look for physical and legal access to the property before a home is built. But a home could be built on 10 acres of ag. It doesn't have to be rural residential to have a residence.
Okay, go ahead, George. Yeah.
I don't know if this matters, but tonight on the news, they had the Public Service Commission brought up something about this particular thing. And they were going to look into stuff like this because of energy shortages. I didn't know we had an energy shortage, but will that affect it in any way?
You know, it's hard to say what the future is going to be if the state is going to call it a one-size-fits-all and handle the regulations on these. I'm not quite sure what the future will bring. It's kind of unknown at this point. I know the state has been courting a lot of these companies here, but kind of left it up to everyone else to figure it out once they get here. And so other counties have recently also adopted ordinances. None of them they're kind of consistent, but they're not. So putting myself in the shoes of the possible data center operators, that can be very confusing. But at the same time, we felt as a county it was important to have some sort of regulations in place because these came at us pretty quick. But I saw the same thing you're referring to, and I really don't know what the bottom line is on power and whatnot.
The article that I read, George, also had the reference to all the MDU customers paying extra to have the Atlas Center out here, and I thought, let's just rub salt in some wounds up here. But it's really the grid, it's the shortage or the capacity of the grid that's short.
That same member of the Public Service Commission, he's also call it a class at the Association of Counties. They're going to go over, which I plan on attending as well in October. And so they may have more information, and they've talked about possible legislative changes at the state level regarding regulations of these. I just don't know where or what could happen. I may learn a little more in October, but I still don't know. But again, tonight's that we will have a hearing for the CUP on this. It's up to this board if they would like to table this, to have it during the CUP hearing. That's fine with staff, or if they want to just look at the variance to remain ag, that's something that can be voted on too. It's up to this board.
What do you guys want to do?
What would be the cleanest way to do this? What's the cleanest way?
Concurrently. Would be the cleanest. I mean, from administratively, it'd be better, more efficient.
As far as them doing any paperwork, it makes no difference if we approve this tonight or if we do it with their CUP. They can't do anything until they get both of them, can they?
Correct.
Correct. I don't think they want to purchase it, and Steve Mortensen probably doesn't want to sell it if they can't put a data center on the property. So they need to know if they're going to get approved for a CUP before they even finalize the private sale. So probably a valid point.
So really running it concurrently would make the most sense, but doesn't mean it has to, because it's still gonna be ag regardless.
Yep, and I will mention that the property that is currently being subdivided consists of 3 parcels. So there's 3 separate parcels that they're going to create only 2 parcels, so I don't know if that matters.
Hey, Greg, just, he raised his hand.
I've just got a question about that. Is this a data center, like some of these are putting in, that they're gonna utilize, like the natural gases off of wells? Or is it another data center, like the one that's here, that's in a lawsuit that doesn't even have enough electricity to run it at full potential now, and create a noisy environment in a residential?
Yeah, they can answer. We haven't seen the information yet, so we don't know yet.
Just
But go ahead.
because we're being, just for the recording, so the question was if, is this one that runs off the power grid or one that runs off natural gas? This one is proposing to run off the power grid. They've worked with Montreal Williams. We have received a copy of their power purchase agreement. The cryptocurrency mining that is located on oil and gas pads is completely controlled by the Industrial Commission, so we don't approve or even review those.
Okay, so how do you guys want to go about this? It shouldn't, whether we do, if we do nothing, it's not going to delay anything, because we're still waiting on the CUP. So you could either have them, suggest recommending that we kick it back and run it concurrently, or run with the variance
I'll make a motion to table it till next month when they come in for the CUP.
and run concurrently. Okay, is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Is there any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Barry,
Yes.
Sherrill,
No.
Dan,
Yes?
Eric,
Yes.
George,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Tate.
Yes, motion carries. So do you let Steve know that, or, we're not trying to ruin a project. It does make more sense. Okay, any of the discussion items? Next meeting is on October 17th. I'll be out of town for sure, 100%, so I'll call in if I can. I'll let you know, so just giving you a heads up, so.
We will now have 7 items that night.
Whew. All right, anything else? Can I get a motion to adjourn? So moved. There you go. Oh, I heard a second down here.
Thanks.